So when I heard about this and I read the article, and I've been catching a lot of content providers on YouTube talking about this subject about Dennis Schroder wanting to uh, be in the starting lineup. He said, "quote I can help the Lakers more as a starter alongside LeBron James and AD." Now, uh, before I talk about this, let's just break down the stats. When his 2 years with the Oklahoma City Thunder, he only started 14 games. And the only time he has really spent more time in the starting position is when his time with the Atlanta Hawks. Okay. So that's kind of eye-opening, considering the Oklahoma City Thunder. I can understand last year they had Chris Paul, why he couldn't crack the starting position, but you was there 2 years. And, if you're the talented player, you should have been the talented player with the Oklahoma City Thunder, well, 2 years ago before they traded Chris Paul. But you only started 14 games, all right? Uh, Also, let's be fair and be honest. He's a defensive liability. And my rule of thumb is if you're going to be a starter, you have to be close of being a well-rounded player. You can't be a liability on the offense, and you can't be a liability on defense, all right? You sort of have to be borderline above average to be capable of, running the system on the offensive side, and you can't be a liability on defense. And that's the problem with Dennis. And this is a well recurring theme because Montrezl Harrell is a defensive liability. So essentially, if, let's just say hypothetically, they start Montrezl Harrell and Dennis at the starting position, those are going to be two players with defense. They have defensive liabilities. All right. And, Dennis have been in the league for quite some time now. And he should, been in the lab trying to get better on defense. All right. I'm not going to mention his plus minus in the when you compare it from the regular season to the postseason. I'm not even going to mention all that stuff. I'm not going to make this video any longer than it necessarily has to be. All right. But a lot of people are, rolling their eyes at Dennis, talking about he wants to benefit the Lakers more as a starter, and they're calling this a diva move, and they're calling this this could be big troubles for the Los Angeles Lakers. Now you can perceive that, okay? You can speculate on that, but to me, I look at it as someone that wants to take more responsibility. All right. Who wants to contribute more for their team, okay? So I can look at it at that way. Now, you can look at it as this is a diva move. This guy is biting more than he can chew. I can understand those avenues, but to me, I look at it as this guy wants to contribute more to the team. And there's nothing wrong with that, all right? Now, however, I am kind of concerned that the man has been traded like 2 or 3 weeks ago to the Lakers, and he hasn't even talked to anybody on the coaching staff of the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I can give the excuse of COVID reasons, okay? I can also give the excuse that he probably has talked to someone in the coaching staff, maybe not the head coach, during a Zoom call that we're not aware of. But when you look at the information, online, everyone is saying that he hasn't talked to anyone from coaching ever since he's been added to the Los Angeles Lakers. All right. Now, I can, kind of co-sign with people saying that's kind of troubling. Okay. But remember, LeBron James, and I'm not saying Dennis is in the same tier of LeBron James, but when LeBron James signed to the Los Angeles Lakers, it was months before he actually talked to the coaching staff. All right. And people was perceiving that to be a diva move. Okay. And, I didn't. And I'm not going to, I'm not going to consider that a diva move, but I am going to hold back my comments on this. And I'm just going to give him the benefit of a doubt and say, well, maybe it's COVID. Maybe he already talked to someone in the coaching staff during a Zoom call or a phone call or something. With COVID-19 on the rise, okay, you have to be very cautious and careful. So I just want to say, okay, maybe it's because of those reasons why he hasn't talked to the coaching staff. I'm not going to go on the ledge of he doesn't like the Los Angeles Lakers. He don't think he's a good fit for the Los Angeles Lakers. He's unhappy with his how they're going to utilize him with the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm not even going to speculate all that stuff. I'm not even going to say this is a diva move. I will say him wanting more responsibility, that's a plus in my book. All right. And, it's good to have expectations. And that's what Dennis is doing. He has expectations to contribute more as a starter than a bench player. And, we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. During training camp, if they have preseason games, the games themselves in the regular season. So they're going to have a lot of games in front of them where they can test his theory to see whether or not he's more beneficial as a starter versus a bench player. Me personally, if you told me, look, you're going to have to pick a side, okay? And if I had to pick a side, I'm thinking he's going to be more of a role player because of his limitations defending the opposition. I think that, and if you look at his plus minus, I just think he's a talented player, but he's not a complete player. Okay, there's a difference between being a talented player with limitations and being an extraordinary player with no limitations. And the extraordinary ones, you find a way to put them on your starting roster. All right. Now, 99.9% of the time, the extraordinary players win that battle as far as putting them in the starting lineup, with a few exceptions in NBA history. Okay. The extraordinary players do not find themselves in trades, or the play or the organization couldn't do nothing with them. All right. So I don't think he's an extraordinary player. I think he's a talented player, but he has limitations. But he's been in the league long enough where he should have been in the lab trying to make his weaknesses his strengths. Okay. He's been in the NBA. He's been in the league long enough where he should have already, accomplished this. Okay. And the fact of the matter is, I believe he's 27 and he's been in the NBA for some time now, and he's still a defensive liability. He was a defensive liability with the Atlanta Hawks when he was a starter. There was a reason why the Atlanta Hawks traded him in the first place. Okay. So, he's bouncing from the, and then he went to the Oklahoma City Thunder. He was there for 2 years. His first year, he couldn't crack the starting lineup with those players that the Oklahoma City Thunder had 2 years ago, and you can only manage to get 14 starts. All right. Now I understand the second year they traded for Chris Paul. That was a done deal. You're not gonna win the starting position with Chris Paul. All right. Look, the coach at Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, look, should I keep trying to experiment with Dennis at the point, or just go ahead and just give it to Chris Paul? What should I do? Okay, that's not one of those type of decision making. you're going to put Chris Paul in there, okay? So I can understand the second year of Oklahoma City Thunder of him not making the starting lineup, but you was there for 2 years, dude, and you only managed to be in the starting lineup 14 times, and I think it's over 100 games. That's really bad. And like I said about the trade, everybody was jumping in and hooping and hollering, talking about, oh, they're going to repeat. They got Dennis. They're going to repeat. And I told you guys, now them getting Dennis and also Montrezl Harrell, those are the younger versions of Rondo and Dwight Howard. Okay, they're going to be more athletic than those older guys, but they're going to be lacking in experience, and they're going to have liability issues. All right, so Montrezl Harrell is now on the outside looking in. I think he's going to be on the bench as well as Dennis, and I think Dennis should, in practices, develop some type of chemistry with Montrezl Harrell. I think they're going to do some great things with the Lakers organization. Them coming off the bench and giving LeBron some added rest time, which is going to be well needed. He's already talking about load managing the first 2 months of the regular season. We're going to have to wait to see if that's going to be true or if that's going to be in concrete and stone. But I don't consider what he said a diva move. I really think of it as, he wants to contribute more for the Los Angeles Lakers, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I would raise my eyebrow a little on him still hasn't communicated with the coaching staff, but I gave you guys my reasons why I feel like that's going on. But nevertheless, I don't think this is going to be a huge issue. I mean, someone did a podcast and it was on for 4 hours talking about this. And I was going like, man, this is not that big of a deal. Okay. But nevertheless, I digress. I'll talk to you guys on the next video. Deuces.